My name is Cobus Burgers. I'm the Managing Director of NETCB. Been here now for 20 years, been a long time. And I'm very glad you could join us this morning and for the next 2 days during our net.Share event. I'm going to talk a bit about what NETCB is about and why we say we secure your digital future. So I'm going to take you through a couple of slides and talk about our perspective of the challenges that we face in our industry and how NETCB can assist you to overcome some of these challenges, and also for those of you who don't know us as an organization, that we can actually, how we can help you and you can understand more about what NETCB is about. I'm going to bring up that slide. Let me get the next one. Now, quite often people talk about their challenges that they're facing. CIOs, CEOs, CTOs that we speak to. And I discovered this list of top items. Seems I need some audio. Seems that there's no audio. Check if the audio is now running. Just give me an indication quickly if you can hear my audio on the WhatsApp. Oh, great. It seems everyone can hear me now. Now, when we talk about the top ICT challenges, this is from the source from the CIO magazine, where a number of top ICT challenges were listed by a number of CIOs and CTOs that mentioned after a series of polls for 2023, indicated what are the top ITC challenges for this year and most likely going into next year. At the top of this list was hardening cybersecurity. And that is one of the items I'm going to highlight during my presentation. There are also obviously operationalization of artificial intelligence. There's a number of open text sessions that deal with artificial intelligence and their strategies around that. It's also coping with economic pressures and uncertainty. And we can, I think you just need to switch on the news today and you'll see what is going on in the world and the uncertainty that is playing off on your TV screen. Another item that I'm going to mention and delve a little bit deeper into is modernizing at speed. And I will explain our perspective on that. There's also constantly IT need to ensure its value proposition. Business wants to know why are you justifying spending so much money on information technology? Driving data insights. People need to understand what is actually going on, what is our data telling us, and having the right tools to be able to analyze this data and be able to make sense of it. A huge component is transforming to meet regulatory requirements. That is, in most jurisdictions today, it has become almost an utmost requirement to meet legal requirements. And we do have a session tomorrow that is going to address some of the issues around your legal requirements in terms of transformation and meeting these regulatory requirements. There's also the democratizing of tech development. That means providing more access to people to be able to use technology, having less effort to build technology solutions and make it much faster accessible to your users and your customers. Another issue that I'm going to delve in a lot deeper into is the aspect of acquiring and retaining talent. And I will explain a little bit more on that in a bit. There's also preparing IT teams for the future. We all know the rapid changes that is taking place within our industry today. Almost every day there's something new, there's something faster, there's more hype, there's more, you have to do this. How do you do that? But it has become a challenge for organizations to make sure that they do have teams that are prepared for all these changes that are being thrown upon them all the time. Since COVID, obviously, there was this whole thing of working remotely. Now that some of us may have gone back to the office, we still sit in a situation where a majority of workforces are actually working remotely, especially with your knowledge workers. We've seen even within our own organization how we all are working remotely, but that also brings along its own challenges. But it has become one of the major challenges for ICT leaders to create this hybrid work environment that works for everyone at the end of the day. I'm going to add another ICT challenge on this list, which is very much specific to South Africa, and that is load shedding. At least I'm not going to talk more about that before I jinx it, because the last couple of weeks it has eased quite significantly, and let's hope it remains like that. As I mentioned, cybersecurity is the #1 challenge for facing organizations today. We have every day almost now you hear about organizations being hacked or breached or information being leaked. It is something that impacts every aspect of an organization, not just IT. It is something that needs to be understood throughout your entire organization. We still find, however, that the end user awareness is still quite limited. A lot of these breaches take place because of users being unaware of what they're doing. Time and again, I hear about someone that has clicked on an email, or they've opened up something, or they did not create a strong enough password. So these are all issues that need to be addressed in terms of cybersecurity. We've seen how traditional approaches to managing security has become ineffective. Having a firewall, having VPNs is just not always the right approach anymore, or the only approach to secure your environment. It's a far more holistic approach that needs to be taken. one of the aspects when you start to implement stricter measures in terms of your cybersecurity environments, we also know that there's going to be resistance to these changing practices. Users have been used to do certain things in a certain way for a very, very long time. And to change these behaviors is one of the biggest challenges that organizations are facing. The big problem organizations have is that to have a bird's eye view of the entire security posture of the organization. We find it is quite often siloed. You have your security team working on their security mechanisms. You have your developers working separately. You have your marketing people working separately. You have your sales people working separately, not taking into account that they need to understand the security practices and rules that they need to abide by when dealing with information, when dealing with data, because every person nowadays in an organization will deal with information, will deal with information technology. And it becomes essential for every person in an organization, every division in an organization, every system in an organization to be managed from a central framework, from a mechanism by which you have a single view of what is happening within that organization. And we quite often find that that is not the case. We also see that when there are compliance or compliance of regulatory frameworks that are quite often misunderstood or quite often only partially implemented. When you're in a specific industry, let's say government, you say, okay, let's start to make use of the cloud solutions without understanding the impact it does have on the information and who will eventually have access to that information. And it is very important, and we at NETCB see it as our duty to educate our client base and make sure that our customers understand the possible risks they may be exposing themselves, but also how we can assist them to have full compliance in terms of the regulatory compliance when it comes to cybersecurity. An issue that we quite often notice is that when security auditing is being conducted within many organizations, that quite often it is based on playbooks designed like 15 years or 10 years ago. Those are outdated practices. There are completely new ways on how these security auditing mechanisms need to be applied. The other item that I would like to highlight is modernizing at speed. A lot of organizations always say, we're going to need to embark on this digital transformation. We need to migrate. We need to change our systems. We do feel that this is one of the most misunderstood concepts. It doesn't mean that to modernize means replacing things that you already have. You do not need to have a sudden jump to change everything that you have within your organization. Quite often, the mere re-architecture of your existing infrastructure can already modernize what you already have. It is very concerning to us that this modernization drive is being regarded as ripping out and replacing systems at immense cost to organizations, while they already have quite often technologies in place that need to be properly implemented, re-architected, or quite most often just updated to the absolute latest versions of those systems. One of the key things that people need to keep in mind when you start to modernize is when you need to start to build modular architectures. That means that your architecture can always be modern by updating, replacing very small components of your architecture without having a major impact on the entire organization. We have a number of sessions where people will be talking about architectures, mechanisms that you can put in place. I have a session later today where I talk about the AWS well-architected framework, which is not just about replacing systems, but just re-architecting your environment. I mentioned before that you need to keep your systems current. Quite often, software vendors will modernize their applications, keep them current, make sure that these things are up to date. And we also say, and leverage the cloud where it makes sense. There's a lot of hype always going on that the entire world is going to the cloud and everyone must move to the cloud. If you don't move to the cloud, you're going to be left out. As we are an Amazon AWS partner, one of the things that you are taught very quickly by AWS themselves is that 90% of the world is still on-premise. And the majority of their customers that are making use of their cloud services are approaching it from a hybrid cloud perspective. And that it will remain like that. There are certain things that you keep on premise. There's certain things that you will start to leverage in the cloud to start with your modernization and digital transformation processes. It is very important when you listen to all the marketing about going to the cloud, modernization, etc., is not to get fooled by the hype. It's quite often in the media, etc., that a lot of hype gets created and it creates the perception that everyone is moving to the cloud, when in fact it is not the case. In fact, a lot of organizations are leveraging certain services in the cloud and they keep their data safe. Quite often you hear that you need to migrate to a different system, and like moving from one email system to another email system because the one email system is out of date or outdated, etc. Despite the fact that they keep on releasing new versions of the software on a regular basis. I have a session later today as well where I talk about the latest release of GroupWise that was released yesterday. I can tell you that migrations are costly. It often fail and can cause major disruptions to an organization. Customers, when they ask us to present them with a proposal to migrate them to another platform, they're quite amazed at the high cost of migrations. The thing is, when you plan a migration, you must plan it in such a way that you cannot disrupt the organization and you cannot lose data. And that is often a forgotten aspect that take place during these migration projects. We've seen so many of these migration projects that have started and then just never completed. Also, when people say we're going to start to modernize at speed, you will very quickly find then, okay, let's move everything to the cloud. Let's move all our servers into the cloud. Just to be hit by cost bills that they did not expect. When I have my session on the well-architected framework later today, one of the pillars of managing your modernization into the cloud or adopting the cloud or cloud platforms is how you need to manage your costs, that it actually can start to reduce your ICT costs instead of tripling it. It's also very important when you start to move into a cloud service that you understand the privacy risks and the exposure that you may have to foreign actors. And that is a session that Keith will be presenting tomorrow as one of the keynotes. When we start to, another issue that I said I want to highlight is the retaining and acquiring of talent. We've noticed over the last couple of years how technical skills have become more scarce. It really has become incredibly difficult to find those deep technical skills, especially within our own country, and to find people with that depth of knowledge of the entire ICT stack and how things work. We quite often see people regarding themselves as ICT specialists, but it is merely a point and click type of management of information technology without understanding what is going on underneath the bonnet. It is so important when we are working as ICT professionals in this industry that when you do point and click, that you understand what is going on underneath the bonnet, that you know and understand the nuts and bolts of what you are working with, because that will give you a far deeper understanding of what you're actually doing at that point in time. We are also exposed to I rephrase this as the mining of technical skills in Africa, where quite often we build deep technical skills, and because of this scarcity, a lot of our capabilities are being procured by organizations or multinationals outside of the continent. And that even further reduces the amount of skills and technical resources we have available within South Africa and the rest of the continent. Another aspect that is showing his face quite drastically now is how we can see how the mainframe and COBOL skills are under severe threat because of the aging mainframe and COBOL support personnel. And NETCB, even within our own organization, we are addressing these challenges. We are busy building a next generation of new talent and skills within our own organization. We have staff that now start to understand how to establish mainframe terminal sessions, security. The open text platform provide a range of solutions to modernize your access to mainframe environments or modernize your COBOL applications, even within our own software development team. Skills transfer has become critical within our own organization for sustainability. And you will see a number of faces during the course of net.Share where you will be introduced to NETCB's next generation. Even though some of us are above a certain age now already, although we still have quite a number of years to go, we are already foreseeing that we need to have the capacity and the skills and the leadership within our own organization to take the company to the next 20 years. We as a company also see open source is a catalyst playing a role with retaining and acquiring talent. It always stimulates innovation. You can adopt an open source project and take it further. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. It is something that elevates local skills development. It helps an organization to retain a lot of skills, but also ensure that skills within our customer base is developed far deeper by understanding the use of various open source technologies. Another benefit of using open source technologies with all your proprietary technology, when I say you need to use open source, doesn't mean everything must be open source in your environment, but you can follow a hybrid approach, is that it can keep the revenue local. Less South African rands flow outside of the borders of the country, especially when it comes to building gaps using open source technologies between your various infrastructures. Now, when we talk about NETCB today and in the future, just to give you some background about that, we've been in business now for 20 years of innovation. Today, we provide solutions within the space of digital workspaces. When I talk about digital workspaces, those are the things that you see on your desktop. Those are the systems that provide you with access to your information. Those are the systems that allow you to collaborate with your peers, communicate with your peers. Our digital workspace solutions is a very wide discipline within our organization, and there are a number of sessions that are addressing our digital workspace environments during the course of this event. Cybersecurity has probably become the most prominent aspect within NETCB as an organization. We know and we see how critical it has become with our entire customer base and with our partners, that cybersecurity should always be the #1 priority. It is a journey. It's not something that gets implemented overnight. But you need to ensure that there's a proper roadmap and plan in place to harden your cybersecurity that you already may think you have in your environment. You also hear a lot about hybrid cloud computing during our event. And this is one of the areas where NETCB in the last couple of years started to develop a vast amount of skills in understanding cloud computing and understanding how to build hybrid frameworks for our clients, assisting them to make use of certain services in a hybrid cloud environment. You'll see a number of sessions where we address this. There's even a session where I explain how you can run Retain, for those of you that are using the Retain archiving system in the cloud, which I think can be very beneficial to attend that session. The one thing that we bring to our customers is what we call the NETCB advantage. It's where we believe in quality versus quantity. We always focus on following specific procedures and processes, documenting what we do. I can still recall a couple of years ago when one of my engineers arrived on the site and he pulled out a document which we referred to back then as a plan of action document, and I immediately got a phone call from the customer saying, do you guys actually know what they're doing? Because they have these set of steps and procedures that need to be followed to perform the implementation of this project. I immediately told the client, this is how we do things. Having briefly attempted to become a private pilot a couple of years ago, there's something what we call a pilot's checklist. Some things that you always have in memory, something that you need to follow from a written checklist. This ensures that we always follow the exact same process and procedure when certain things are being implemented or when certain processes are being applied when we do support at our clients. That is why we always believe in quality standards in the way we deliver our services to our clients. We also prefer to avoid the hype. Quite often there's a new technology in the market and everyone jumps on the bandwagon and you go through the hype curve and eventually everyone loses interest and then customers realize, okay, that may not have been such a good idea. We always try to see through the hype and bring sanity to the decision-making processes when organizations need to make decisions on selecting technologies that they need to improve their organizations. We also follow a least cost approach. What is the best cost option for a client when they need to implement a system or a service? As an organization, we are cloud ready. We are running systems in the cloud today, and we will continue like that in the future. Today, we offer our customers with services for both AWS as well as Azure. Our strategy will always be a hybrid approach, and we will continue to assist you to build your future architectures when you look at what you have and where you want to go. As I mentioned before, we always have a certain set of open platforms. We have a certain set of open source alternatives. And as you will see with the vendors that are part of our event today, are vendors that play well with others, that integrate well with other vendors and open source technologies, and some of them are even also using open source technologies to build their solutions. And that is the type of solutions that you will always see within NETCB. Today, as an organization, we are not only working with clients in South Africa. We are working with clients across the world. We have a partner network throughout Europe and the United States and Canada, as well as in the Middle East. We have implemented projects across all these geographic regions. We have customers buying our solutions within all these different regions. So NETCB, as a South African company, we do work across the globe. We do provide services to organizations across the globe. We have a well-defined set of technology partners And we make sure that we have the skills and capabilities within each of these organizations and their solutions. As you can see, it is a mix of open source providers as well as proprietary vendors. And most of these vendors are in any case building their solutions on open source. And nowadays, even Microsoft, if you just look at Microsoft Edge, that's been built on open source. These are some of our clients. We've got quite a wide client and partner base. It's been with us for many, many years. Some joined us this year. Some have been with us since our inception. We always believe in retaining clients, and we have made sure that we retain clients that we are dealing with. As you can see, there's a very strong focus on government organizations because we understand government and we understand the challenges that they're facing. There's also an immense growing private sector capability within us as an organization. And we will continue to do so for the next 20 years. So with NETCB, we are here to secure your digital future. You are welcome during the rest of this event to communicate with us, chat with us, select the sessions that you want to attend, join those sessions. Sessions that you cannot attend, you can always watch them later as the platform records each and every session as we go on. So let's see whether there's any questions. I see there's no questions that's been asked. If you want to ask me any question, you are welcome to place questions now. I see I still have got like 6 minutes left, or two and a half minutes left in my session. So if there's any questions that anyone would like to ask me, now is your chance. Thomas, I thank you for that comment that you made. We have today in our audience people from across the world that's joining us during our conference event, and I'm really appreciate the time that you've made available to be available. Chart, I see you asked how long will these sessions be available. They will be available for at least a month afterwards. But we will also download the recordings and make sure that they eventually go onto our YouTube channel. If there are no further questions, then I'm going to end the session. And the next session will start, let me see the time, it's now almost 10 o'clock. We'll start exactly at 10 o'clock when we will do a quick NETCB demo showcase, where we will showcase some of the technologies that you will see during the course of this event. And I invite you to please join that session. Thank you very much.